This is my 1993 Nissan 200SX S13. Over the last couple of months we've been building this thing. Last week we finally got an MOT on it, but there's one job on this car which I've been putting off for the longest. And that one job is the major oil leak we have got on this thing, which does involve taking the sun back off, along with our head drains, and also you've got to lift the engine on this, just to be able to get the sump past the oil pickup.
First things first, we need to unbolt the bonnet. We've just got 4 13mm bolts we have to undo, and then it'll come straight off. We want to give ourselves as much room as possible whilst working on the engine, and obviously don't want the bonnet falling down on our heads whilst we're under there.
Now we've got the bonnet off, which gives us a lot more visibility and a lot more room, and we don't have to worry about the possibility of the bonnet falling off and hitting us in the head, which would not be ideal at all. Which now brings us to, if we take this front bumper off, ignore the damage, that's a story for another time, but if we pull the bumper off, we've got a few little fixings on there, should give us a lot more room to get the engine crane, which is over there, and in front, so we don't do any more damage to it, because yeah, unfortunately we had a bit of a mishap. You can make up your own story and decide what happened there, but here's my door. You can try and figure out what happened, but not too good, not too bad. But let's get this bumper off and start getting the crane over here.
We've only got 4 fixings holding this bumper on, and then the 2 bulbs for the front side lights. We've got 2 10mm and then 2 little 4mm Allen key bolts securing it all on. Can't really remember what Wilkins was saying to me by here, but he gave me a tap on the back, so I must be doing something right. And with the front bumper off, we are actually looking like a real Ebisu drift missile right here. So we're just disconnecting a few of the boost pipes straight off the engine, because obviously when we come to lift it up they're going to be in the way, so we're just taking those off real quickly.
Now that the bumper is all off, we've gone ahead and disconnected some of the boost pipes, just so we got a bit less strain on it, so we can lift the engine straight out. Bumper's over there, not to get damaged any more than it already is. But next step, we'll jack the car up, get the stands under it, just so we got a bit of room so we can lie under the car, which is obviously my favourite thing in the world, is lying under this thing, but I'm quite used to it now because it's always broken and we're always doing bits to it. But I'm hoping this is the last time we have to do this and we fix this oil leak properly. Slight issue, we gotta take the front bash bar off, but that's fine, there's only 2 bolts.
With the 2 bolts out, we can finally pull off the front bash bar, which hopefully should give us enough room to get the jack underneath and get it up in the air.
Like the cool blue light, like the cool blue light, like the cool blue light, like the cool.
Just getting some jack stands under the car, because obviously we do not want this thing falling on our heads whilst we're under it. I mean, there's probably worse cars to fall on us, but we still definitely don't want it happening. Next up, we got to drain the oil out of the legendary CA18, because obviously when we take the sump off, we don't want to make an absolute mess. As we let the remaining oil drain out of the engine, I think it's a good time to put a new copper washer on the sump plug because we don't want any more leaks.
We've managed to drop the oil out of it now, and there is a little bit of what you can see, a little glitter to it, but I'm not that concerned. Did have a sort of a light refresh and rebuild on it, so it's technically still running of sorts, so I'm going to go with this as normal, but we have got some fresh oil for anyway. We've got some lovely 1050, some super thick stuff, so shouldn't knock anyway. But we've got to take the head drains off still and the turbo drain, and I'm hoping, just looking at this, we may have enough room to pull this sump off without actually pulling the engine up at all. But we'll see how that goes now. But let's get these other bits off and we'll see where we're at.
So before we go ahead and start undoing all the sump bolts, first of all we need to get off these AN10 lines, which are in fact our head drains, because if you don't know, the C818 does suffer with oil starvation, where the oil gets stuck in the head, and we've added these as a precaution to help with the oil flow back to the sump so we don't starve the crank of oil. With both the head drains unbolted from the sump, we can move on to undoing all the sump bolts. Honestly, felt like there was about 400 of these, but wasn't too bad. But you'll see what goes wrong in a minute.
Ignore the big poofy hair, but we have run into a slight issue. Just unscrewing one of the sump bolts, and it is snapped. Absolutely not ideal. That is ideal on toast, literally. No, not good. But all the bolts are out, so we'll pull the sump off, and then we can have a look about what we're going to do. Hopefully, it is loose enough so we can just wind it out. If not, then I do not know. So the people online weren't actually lying when they say you have got to raise the engine up a bit, because it's off, but it is fouling. So I think what we're going to do is, if we loosen the 14mm nut on that engine mounting and the same on that side, we should be able to raise the engine up about an inch or two. It should give us enough clearance then to pull the sump off in one. Well, I'm hoping anyway.
I've got ahead and unbolted the engine mount. We're just going to pull the engine up a few inches just to give us enough clearance on the sump. I do end up dropping the subframe down slightly as well, just to give us as much room as possible whilst doing this, because space is obviously on our side when it comes to do this, because obviously we do not want it leaking again. We want to be able to do it nice, tidily, and keep it all clean.
We got a bit of bad news going on here. There seems to be bits of chunks of metal in the sump. Now, it wasn't knocking before, so I'm hoping it won't knock now, but we can't really figure. Surely with chunks the size of they are, we'd surely hear something or know something was wrong with this engine. That's how I'm viewing it. But ignorance is bliss and all that. We're just going to ignore it. Clean up this face, clean up the surface, do a nice silicone bead round it, get it back on, and hopefully we fix the oil leak. You know, it could still be knocking, but at least the oil leak is fixed, and that's my main concern at the moment.
Using the razor blade to scrape off all the old gasket was taking an absolute age, so I had to do something I'm not too proud of, but it had to be done because I was on a bit of a time crunch. I do not condone this, and I really hate myself for doing so, but just enjoy. there we have it. The sump is all back on. Unfortunately, my camera did die, so I don't get any footage of me putting it on. But it was pretty much the same as taking it off, but putting it on.
So engine is back in on the mounts, all tightened. But what we have got to do before we can run this up is I want to swap these lines quickly over. I got 2 new 45s because obviously the 2 previous 45s had failed. So I got 2 new ones to replace the ones I had to pinch. I pinched a 90 and a straight, which don't work very well. So I got those sorted. So we're going to swap those over and we'll be sorted with that then.
I've gone ahead and put the 2 new 45-degree AN fittings onto our line for the head drains. So now all we got to do is just attach these back to the sump.
So the head drain lines are all back on. We've got the oil filter off, and we've got something super special here, and that is a genuine blue Nissan oil filter. I hope I bought the right one and it fits.
Super special.
Super special.
Super special.
So
Wow.
we're gonna put a bit of lube on here, screw her on, get some oil in there, start it up, and hopefully what we've done has fixed the oil leak. He's pouring oil. Oil filter on, oil in. So here goes the moment of truth. Make sure that's in neutral. Let's give her a start. So good so far.
Come on, Dan, come on.
So we're looking pretty good on the leaking front. Doesn't seem to be leaking at all. We are going to leave the sealant to fully set before we put any sort of pressure through it. On idle we should be alright, but we'll let it all cure properly, and then tomorrow we'll double check it again. And we're going to get some other bits done on it for that. So I will see you all at tomorrow. It is the next day. We've had a quick check into the car. All seems to still be dry. I've just gave it a quick blast off with some brake cleaner to get rid of any excess oil that had dripped all over the place whilst we were doing yesterday's job, just so I don't get a bit paranoid when I park up and there's a big pool of oil under the car. But we have got quite a few things we need to finish off as well now. So I want to start getting some rubber bungs in all over the place to stop some heat coming into the cabin, along with smoke and other things like that. And I want to get some other interior pieces along the center console, because there is again a lot of heat coming in through the car and a lot of smells and stuff like that. It's not very nice, so I want to tidy it all up a bit. But first of all, let's get the car on the floor so it's all nice and safe to continue working on.
So the first thing we're going to do is get the shift boot and retaining clip in. This should stop a lot of heat coming from the exhaust and gearbox coming into the cabin, and also keep any unwanted smells and smoke from coming in as well, and should also eliminate quite a lot of road noise. The shift boot and retaining clip all in place, we can move on to getting the center console in. I'm just plugging in the wing mirror switch just so we can adjust the wing mirrors, but they don't seem to be working anyway, so I spent a lot of time trying to get this wiring out and plugged in for absolutely no reason. But interior is starting to come together piece by piece now, and oh my god, it's starting to look so good.
interior all back together, pretty much 99% there now with the interior. A few odds and sods. We've got the front end all back together and we're ready to go and rip once again. But unfortunately that is the end of today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out.